The Galactic Council's emergency session erupts into chaos as news of the forbidden romance between Quinn, the Draconis princess, and Craig Lewis, a human exchange student, sends shockwaves through the massive space station. Alien representatives from across the galaxy crowd the Grand Council chamber, their voices rising in a cacophony of outrage and disbelief. At the center of the storm stands Marcus Steele, Earth's ambassador to the Council, his face a mask of determination as he prepares to defend humanity's position in this unprecedented crisis. Emperor Zorn of the Draconian Empire looms over the proceedings, his reptilian features contorted with fury. "This human has corrupted my daughter and heir," he roars, slamming a clawed fist on the podium. "I demand the immediate expulsion of all human students from the Intergalactic Academy and the severing of all diplomatic ties with Earth." The chamber erupts in a chorus of agreement from conservative factions, while more moderate voices call for calm. Steele steps forward, his voice steady as he addresses the council. "We must approach this situation with reason and understanding. The relationship between Quinn and Craig is a matter of personal choice, not a diplomatic weapon." As the debate rages on the space station, events unfold rapidly across the galaxy. On Earth, government officials whisk Craig Lewis into protective custody, fearing retaliation from the Draconis Empire. The young man struggles against his handlers, his voice breaking as he shouts, "You can't do this! I love Quinn! I have the right to be with her!" Meanwhile, at the Intergalactic Academy, Quinn barricades herself in her dormitory. The princess uses her royal authority to keep security forces at bay, her determination evident in every line of her face. She activates a galaxy-wide broadcast system, her image appearing on screens across countless worlds. "I, Princess Quinn of the Draconian Empire, declare my love for Craig Lewis of Earth," she announces, her voice unwavering. "If necessary, I will abdicate my position as heir to the throne. Our love transcends your outdated laws and prejudices." Her defiant message ignites a firestorm of protests and demonstrations across multiple planets. Young aliens rally in support of Quinn and Craig's right to be together, while conservative factions demand harsh punishment for what they see as a violation of long-standing interstellar protocols. As the crisis deepens, Earth's military goes on high alert. Warships move into defensive positions, their crews tense and ready for potential conflict with the Draconis Empire. The incident escalates by the hour, threatening to unravel years of careful diplomacy and cooperation between Earth and its galactic neighbors. Intelligence agencies on both sides scramble to gather information on the star-crossed lovers, seeking any advantage in the unfolding drama. The Intergalactic Academy campus becomes a powder keg of tension, with human and alien students facing off in heated arguments that threaten to erupt into violence at any moment. Back on Earth, the government convenes an emergency session. Leaders debate their response to the Galactic Council's demands, weighing the potential consequences of defying alien races against the rights of their citizens. The fate of interstellar relations hangs in the balance, with every decision carrying the weight of potential war. Media outlets across the galaxy sensationalize the story, their non-stop coverage further inflaming tensions between humans and aliens. Long-simmering resentments and prejudices bubble to the surface, threatening to undo decades of progress in interspecies relations. As Marcus Steele faces the hostile Galactic Council, he realizes that the next few hours will determine the future of humanity's place in the cosmos. The forbidden love between an alien princess and a human student has become the catalyst for a conflict that could reshape the galaxy forever. As Marcus Steele faced the hostile Galactic Council, the tense atmosphere was shattered by an urgent transmission. The chamber's massive holographic display flickered to life, revealing a scene of chaos unfolding on Earth. Craig Lewis, his face flushed with dedication, had broken free from protective custody. The young man sprinted across a landing pad, dodging security personnel as he made his way to a small interstellar shuttle. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the council chamber as they watched Craig override the shuttle's security protocols and power up its engines. "This is unacceptable," Emperor Zorn roared, his scales overflowing with rage. "The human government cannot even control its own citizens." Steele's mind raced, searching for a way to salvage the deteriorating situation. As Craig's stolen shuttle lifted off from Earth, the ambassador stepped forward, his voice cutting through the din. "Esteemed members of the Council," he began, his tone measured and calm, "we are witnessing history in the making. Instead of reacting with fear and aggression, I propose we seize this opportunity for unprecedented interspecies dialogue." The chamber fell silent as Steele continued. "Let us allow Craig Lewis and Princess Quinn to present their case directly to this council. Their union could become a symbol of cooperation rather than conflict." Emperor Zorn's eyes narrowed dangerously. Without a word, he stormed out of the chamber, his entourage scrambling to keep up. Moments later, alarms blared throughout the station as reports flooded in of the Draconian fleet mobilizing. Across the galaxy, Quinn's barricaded dormitory at the Intergalactic Academy had become the epicenter of a growing movement. The princess's impassioned broadcasts resonated with beings of all species, particularly the younger generations. Zara, Quinn's Nebulonian roommate, rallied a diverse group of students outside the dormitory. "We stand with Quinn and Craig," she shouted, her empathic abilities amplifying the crowd's emotions. "Love knows no species." Inside, Quinn worked feverishly to maintain control of the Academy's communication systems. Her claws flew over the haptic interface as she broadcast another message. "To all beings who believe in unity and understanding," she began, her voice clear and strong. "Craig Lewis is on his way here, risking everything for our love. I ask you to support us not just for our sake, but for the future of interspecies relations throughout the galaxy." As Quinn's words spread, protests erupted on countless worlds. On Earth, Craig's parents held an impromptu press conference outside their home. "Our son may have broken some laws," Dr. Emily Lewis said, her voice thick with emotion, "but he's fighting for something greater than any one planet or species." Colonel James Lewis nodded, adding, "We raised Craig to stand up for what he believes in. We couldn't be prouder of him." In space, Craig's stolen shuttle found itself in the middle of a dangerous standoff. The imposing bulk of the Draconian fleet loomed before him, weapons primed. Behind him, Earth's hastily assembled task force took up defensive positions. Admiral Sarah Chen's voice crackled over the comm system. "Draconian fleet, this is Admiral Chen of Earth's Defense Force. Any aggressive action will be met with equal force. Stand down immediately." Craig's heart raced as he piloted the small shuttle through the tense tableau. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he focused on the navigation console, acutely aware that the slightest mistake could spark an interstellar war. Suddenly, a new ship appeared, dwarfing both fleets. Its sleek, otherworldly design marked it as celestial in origin. A calm, authoritative voice echoed across all communication channels. "This is Arbitrator Zan of the Celestial Peacekeeping Force. By the authority of the Galactic Council, I am here to escort Craig Lewis safely to the Intergalactic Academy and facilitate dialogue between all parties." As the massive celestial ship moved into position, both fleets reluctantly powered down their weapons. Craig's shuttle, now flanked by Zan's ship, continued its approach to the Academy. The shuttle's sensors picked up a maelstrom of activity as they neared the campus. Crowds of students, media drones, and security forces swarmed the landing area. Craig took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. As the shuttle touched down, Craig emerged to a cacophony of shouts, cheers, and angry yells. He pushed through the crowd, his eyes locked on the dormitory where Quinn was barricaded. Security forces moved to intercept him, but a group of students led by Zara formed a protective circle around the human. Craig reached the entrance to Quinn's dormitory, his heart pounding. Through a window, he caught sight of Quinn, their eyes meeting in a moment of electric connection. The crowd fell silent, the intensity of the couple's bond palpable to all present. Arbitrator Zan glided forward, their ethereal form commanding instant respect. "Craig Lewis, Princess Quinn," they intoned, their voice carrying effortlessly across the grounds. "The Galactic Council requests your presence. Will you address them and plead your case?" Before either could respond, a series of explosions rocked the campus. Screams erupted as smoke billowed from several buildings. In the confusion, dark-clad figures moved with lethal purpose towards Craig and Quinn. The purists had made their move, and the star-crossed lovers found themselves at the center of a battle that would determine the future of the galaxy. As smoke billowed across the campus, Craig and Quinn found themselves at the center of a maelstrom. The dark-clad figures advancing through the chaos were unmistakably purist operatives, their movements precise and lethal. "We need to get you two to safety," Arbitrator Zan announced, their ethereal form gliding between the couple and the approaching threat. With a gesture, a shimmering force field erupted around Quinn's dormitory, creating a barrier between the lovers and the chaos outside. Craig's heart raced as he turned to Quinn, her scaled features a mix of perseverance and fear. "We can't hide forever," he said, reaching for her clawed hand. "We need to address the council, show them our side of the story." Quinn nodded, her reptilian eyes gleaming with purpose. "Agreed, but how? We're trapped in here." Arbitrator Zan's voice cut through their uncertainty. "I can establish a holographic link to the council chambers. You'll be able to address them directly from here." As Zan worked to set up the connection, Craig and Quinn retreated further into the dormitory. The sounds of conflict outside grew more intense, punctuated by the shouts of pro-unity students clashing with conservative factions. In the relative quiet of Quinn's room, the couple found themselves alone for the first time since their relationship had become galactic news. Craig's fingers trembled slightly as he helped Quinn adjust her ceremonial draconian robes, the smooth scales of her skin cool beneath his touch. "Craig," Quinn whispered, her voice heavy with emotion. "Whatever happens out there, I want you to know." He silenced her with a kiss, passionate and desperate. Their bodies pressed together, human and draconian, a physical manifestation of the unity they sought to achieve on a galactic scale. Unbeknownst to them, a stray media drone had penetrated the force field, capturing their intimate moment. Across countless worlds, beings of all species watched in fascination as the star-crossed lovers shared their private connection. The tender scene was interrupted by Arbitrator Zan's call. "The link is ready. You can address the council now." Craig and Quinn stepped before the holographic projector, hand in hand. But as the connection established, something went terribly wrong. The image that appeared in the council chambers was a twisted, monstrous version of Quinn, her features distorted into a nightmarish amalgamation of human and draconian traits. In the council chambers, pandemonium erupted. Emperor Zorn's voice boomed above the cacophony. "You see, this abomination is what they would bring upon us all." Back in the dormitory, Craig and Quinn remained oblivious to the technical sabotage. They began their address, their words sincere and heartfelt, unaware that their message was not reaching its intended audience. "Esteemed members of the Galactic Council," Quinn began, her voice steady despite the chaos surrounding them. "We come before you not as a human and a draconian, but as two beings united by love." Craig squeezed her hand, adding, "Our relationship isn't a threat to galactic stability. It's an opportunity for greater understanding between our species." As they continued their impassioned plea, events beyond their control unfolded rapidly. Admiral Sarah Chen's voice crackled over the emergency broadcast system, warning of approaching unidentified vessels. Security forces scrambled to intercept the potential threat, adding to the growing disorder. Inside the academy, Zara's empathic abilities flared as she sensed the presence of purist infiltrators. The Nebulonian's ethereal form shimmered with tension as she relayed her discovery to Arbitrator Zan. "They're here, disguised as maintenance workers. One of them is heading for the central communications hub." Zan's peacekeeping force sprang into action, racing to apprehend the saboteurs before they could cause further damage. But for one purist agent named Vex, it was already too late. He had successfully infiltrated the hub, his fingers dancing over the control panels as he worked to maintain the distorted projection. In the council chambers, Ambassador Marcus Steele fought to regain control of the situation. He beckoned urgently to a holographic display of Dr. Emily Lewis, Craig's mother. "Doctor, we need you to explain the scientific impossibility of this image. Quickly." As Dr. Lewis launched into a rapid-fire explanation of xenobiological principles, a new voice cut through the din. General Kraz, a high-ranking draconian military leader, stepped forward. "Honorable council members," he began, his scaled features set in fierce dedication. There is something you must know about the Draconian royal family. The chamber fell silent as General Kraz revealed classified information about the long history of secret interspecies relationships within the Draconian aristocracy, including the shocking truth about Emperor Zorn's own mixed heritage. As this bombshell revelation sent shockwaves through the Council and across the galaxy, Earth scientists finally managed to overcome Vex's sabotage. The distorted image flickered and disappeared, replaced by the true visage of Craig and Quinn, still standing united before the projector in Quinn's dormitory. Their words, filled with hope and sincerity, at last reached the ears of the Council and the trillions of beings watching across the cosmos. "We stand before you as living proof that love can transcend the boundaries of species," Quinn declared, her scaled fingers intertwined with Craig's. Craig nodded, his eyes shining with emotion. "We're not asking for special treatment. We're asking for the chance to show that our love can be a force for positive change in the galaxy." As their plea echoed through the Council chambers, the fate of their relationship, and potentially the future of interspecies relations, hung in the balance. The Galactic Council faced a moment of truth, their decision poised to shape the course of history. Galactic history. Just as the Council seemed on the verge of a decision, a violent surge of energy coursed through the holographic projection system. Craig and Quinn's image flickered violently, their words becoming distorted and unintelligible before abruptly vanishing altogether. In the Council chambers, a stunned silence fell over the assembled representatives. Emperor Zorn's eyes narrowed, a cold smile playing at the corners of his scaled mouth. He rose from his seat, his voice cutting through the shocked quiet. "Esteemed colleagues," he began, his tone dripping with false concern, "it seems we've lost our connection to the young couple." He spat the last word as if it left a foul taste in his mouth. "In light of this unfortunate technical difficulty, I move that we vote immediately on the matter of their relationship." The chamber erupted into chaos. Voices rose in anger and protest, while others shouted their agreement with the Emperor. Ambassador Marcus Steele leapt to his feet, his face flushed with urgency. "Your Imperial Majesty, members of the Council," he called out, struggling to be heard above the din, "I respectfully request a recess. We need time to address these technical issues and allow for further deliberation on this crucial matter." Back at the Intergalactic Academy, Craig and Quinn remained blissfully unaware of the disruption. They stood hand in hand before the holographic projector, believing their impassioned plea had reached its intended audience. With a shared nod of purpose, they turned and made their way towards the dormitory exit. As the force field protecting them dissipated, they stepped out into the tumultuous crowd. A sea of faces greeted them, some supportive, others hostile, all intense with emotion. Craig's grip on Quinn's hand tightened as they navigated the throng. Suddenly, a flash of movement caught Craig's eye. A figure in student attire lunged forward, a wicked-looking blade glinting in the artificial light. Time seemed to slow as Craig's mind registered the imminent threat. Before he could react, a wave of calm washed over the crowd. The assassin's movements became sluggish, his eyes unfocused. Craig glanced to his side and saw Zara, her Nebulonian form shimmering with exertion as she projected her empathic abilities. Seizing the opportunity, Craig released Quinn's hand and sprang into action. He tackled the would-be assassin, using his human agility and strength to subdue the attacker. They hit the ground hard, Craig's arms locked around the assailant in a tight grip. "Security!" Quinn's voice rang out, clear and authoritative. Within moments, Academy guards swarmed around them, securing the assassin. As Craig rose to his feet, he became aware of the swarm of media drones hovering above, capturing every detail of the thwarted attack. The image of a human protecting a draconian princess from an alien assailant spread across the galaxy at light speed, challenging long-held prejudices and assumptions. In the council chambers, General Kraz seized upon this new development. He strode to the center of the room, his scaled features set in relentless drive. "Honored members of the council," he began, his voice resonating with conviction. "What we have just witnessed is proof of the strength that lies in unity. Throughout our history, the Draconian Empire has benefited from interspecies cooperation. I have here," he produced a data crystal. historical records that directly contradict Emperor Zorn's claims of racial purity. As General Kraz presented his evidence, Admiral Sarah Chen's voice crackled over the emergency broadcast system. "This is Admiral Chen of Earth's Defense Force. In light of recent events, I am requesting expanded authority to form a joint human-alien task force. Our goal will be to investigate and neutralize the purest threat that has made itself known today." The revelation of a widespread purist network sent shockwaves through the galactic community. Protests in favor of Craig and Quinn grew in size and volume across multiple worlds, their relationship now seen as a symbol of unity against extremism. Dr. Emily Lewis stepped forward, her holographic form shimmering before the council. "Esteemed representatives," she began, her voice steady and clear, "I have conducted extensive research into the genetic compatibility of humans and draconians. Allow me to present my findings." With practiced ease, Dr. Lewis launched into a presentation filled with complex data and stunningly rendered projections of potential human draconian offspring. The images showed beings of remarkable beauty and vitality, a harmonious blend of both species traits. As the council members murmured among themselves, visibly swayed by the scientific evidence and recent events, Emperor Zorn rose once more. His face was a mask of hardly restrained fury as he made his final, desperate move. "I will abdicate the draconian throne," he announced, his voice echoing through the chamber, "in favor of my daughter, Princess Quinn. However, this is contingent upon one condition. She must end her relationship with the human, Craig Lewis." The council chamber fell silent as the weight of the Emperor's ultimatum settled over the assembly. All eyes turned to the holographic display showing Craig and Quinn at the academy, waiting to see how the young couple would respond to this life-altering choice. Craig and Quinn, having just been informed of the Emperor's demand, retreated to a private chamber within the academy. The door sealed behind them with a soft hiss, leaving them alone to face the monumental decision that lay before them. Quinn's clawed hand trembled slightly in Craig's grasp as they sat side by side on a sleek metallic bench. The weight of an entire empire hung in the balance, suspended between their intertwined fingers. "Craig," Quinn began, her voice barely above a whisper. Craig gently placed a finger on her lips, silencing her. "Before you say anything, I want you to know that whatever you decide, I'll support you. Your people need you, Quinn. And if that means we can't be together, then—" Quinn's eyes flashed with a mix of willpower and fierce love. "No," she said firmly, rising to her feet and pulling Craig up with her. "My people need change, Craig. They need to see that love knows no boundaries, that unity is stronger than division. We can show them that together." A smile spread across Craig's face, matching the one that now graced Quinn's scaled features. Without another word, they turned towards the door, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead as one. As Craig reached for the door controls, Quinn's hand covered his, stopping him momentarily. Their eyes met, volumes of unspoken emotion passing between them in that brief moment. "Whatever happens next," Quinn said softly, "we face it together." Craig nodded, his heart swelling with love and willpower. With a shared deep breath, they opened the door and stepped out, hand in hand, to deliver their response to the Galactic Council and the watching galaxy. The eyes of countless beings across the cosmos turned towards the young couple as they prepared to announce their decision. A choice that would not only determine their personal fate, but shape the future of human-alien relations and the fight against extremism throughout the galaxy. Galaxy. The holographic projection system flickered back to life, revealing Craig and Quinn standing before the council, their hands clasped tightly together. "Esteemed members of the Galactic Council," Quinn began, her voice steady and clear, "we have reached a decision." Craig nodded, his eyes meeting those of the council members. "We will not bow to Emperor Zorn's ultimatum." A collective gasp rippled through the chamber. Emperor Zorn's face contorted with rage, but before he could speak, Quinn continued. "Instead, we propose a bold plan that we believe will demonstrate the potential for harmony between our species," she said. "We will undergo a traditional draconian bonding ceremony, effectively marrying in the eyes of my people." Craig picked up the thread seamlessly. "And we will also participate in a human wedding ceremony on Earth. This dual union will serve as a symbol of unity and cooperation between our species. The announcement sent shockwaves through the council chamber and across the watching galaxy. Murmurs of surprise and debate filled the air as the representatives processed this unexpected proposal. Emperor Zorn shot to his feet, his scales flaring with anger. "I will not allow this," he roared. "Quinn, you are hereby stripped of your royal titles and banished from the Draconian Empire." His declaration was met with a stunned silence, followed by a wave of sympathetic murmurs for the young couple. The Emperor's extreme reaction only served to expose the depth of his prejudice, garnering further support for Craig and Quinn's cause. Seizing the moment, General Kraz stepped forward, his eyes blazing with dedication. "Your Imperial Majesty," he said, his voice carrying across the chamber, "I invoke the ancient draconian law of Kralthor. I challenge your decision through trial by combat." The chamber erupted in shocked exclamations. The invocation of this ancient law sent ripples of excitement and tension through the gathered representatives. "And who would be your champion, General?" Emperor Zorn sneered, his voice dripping with disdain. General Kraz turned to face Craig, who stood tall despite the sudden attention. "I nominate Craig Lewis as my champion," he declared. "If a human can prove himself worthy in draconian combat, it would demonstrate the potential for interspecies cooperation beyond doubt." The Galactic Council members conferred hastily, their voices a low buzz of urgent discussion. After a few moments, the head of the council rose. "We agree to oversee this trial by combat," she announced. "If Craig Lewis emerges victorious, Princess Quinn's royal status will be restored, and their union will be officially recognized across the galaxy. However, if he loses, both he and Quinn will accept exile from draconian space." Craig and Quinn exchanged a look, silently communicating their acceptance of these terms. Craig stepped forward, his voice steady. "I accept the challenge." The council chamber buzzed with activity as preparations for the trial began immediately. General Kraz approached Craig, placing a scaled hand on his shoulder. "Come with me," he said. "We have much work to do." As they left the chamber, Quinn caught Craig's hand, pulling him close for a moment. "Be careful," she whispered, her eyes searching his. Craig squeezed her hand reassuringly. "I will. We're in this together, remember?" With a final shared look, they parted ways. Quinn moved to join Ambassador Steele and Dr. Emily Lewis, ready to rally support for their cause, while Craig followed General Kraz to begin his training. The next few days passed in a blur of intense activity. Craig found himself pushed to his physical and mental limits as General Kraz drilled him in secret draconian fighting techniques. They trained in a secluded area of the Intergalactic Academy, away from prying eyes. These moves have been passed down through generations of the royal family, Kraz explained as he demonstrated a complex series of strikes and blocks. They are not widely known, even among our own people. Use them wisely. Craig nodded, his body aching but his spirit unbroken. He threw himself into the training with unwavering focus, determined to prove himself worthy of Quinn and the future they envisioned. Meanwhile, Quinn worked tirelessly with Ambassador Steele and Dr. Lewis to organize a series of cultural exchange events at the Academy. These gatherings showcased the benefits of interspecies cooperation and understanding, featuring artwork, music, and scientific collaborations from various worlds. As support for Craig and Quinn grew, so did the backlash from extremist groups. The purists, threatened by the growing acceptance of interspecies relationships, launched a series of terrorist attacks on various planets. The galaxy reeled from the violence, but the attacks had an unintended consequence. They united many species against the common threat of extremism, inadvertently strengthening the case for interspecies cooperation. Admiral Sarah Chen's Joint Task Force made significant progress in uncovering the extent of the purist network. Their investigations revealed that the organization had infiltrated high levels of government across multiple species, including Earth and the Draconian Empire. This revelation sent shockwaves through the galactic community and further undermined Emperor Zorn's position. As the day of the trial approached, Craig's training intensified. Quinn spent every available moment with him, offering support and encouragement. Their bond deepened as they faced the challenge together, their connection growing stronger under the weight of their shared struggle. The night before the trial, Craig and Quinn found a moment of peace in a secluded garden at the academy. They sat beneath the soft glow of alien bioluminescent plants, their fingers intertwined. "Whatever happens tomorrow," Quinn said softly, her scales shimmering in the ethereal light. "Know that I love you, Craig Lewis." Craig pulled her close, his heart full. "And I love you, Quinn. No matter the outcome, we've already changed the galaxy. Together." They shared a tender kiss, drawing strength from each other for the trial that lay ahead. The morning of the combat trial dawned clear and bright. The Galactic Council convened in a massive arena on a neutral planet, with billions of beings across the galaxy tuning in to watch the event. The air crackled with tension and anticipation as Craig entered the arena, facing Emperor Zorn's chosen champion, Drax, the Empire's most fearsome warrior. Craig stood ready, his human form looking small compared to the towering draconian warrior. But in his eyes burned a fierce willpower as he prepared to fight for his love and the future of interspecies relations. Quinn watched from the sidelines, her heart pounding, knowing that the fate of their relationship and potentially the galaxy rested on the outcome of this ancient draconian ritual. As the signal to begin the trial sounded, Craig and Drax circled each other, the galaxy holding its breath. The fight for love, acceptance, and the future of interspecies relations was about to begin. Craig and Drax launched into action. The draconian warrior's massive form lunged forward with surprising speed, his clawed hands slashing through the air. Craig ducked and rolled, narrowly avoiding the attack. He could feel the wind from Drax's strike ruffle his hair as he sprang back to his feet. The crowd roared as Craig retaliated, his fists a blur as he unleashed a flurry of punches. Drax blocked most of them with his scaled forearms, but a few connected, causing the draconian to grunt in surprise. As they circled each other, Craig's mind raced, recalling General Kraz's training. He feinted left, then dropped low, sweeping Drax's legs out from under him. The arena shook as the massive warrior crashed to the ground. Craig pounced, attempting to pin Drax, but the draconian's tail whipped around, catching Craig in the ribs. He stumbled back, gasping for air. Drax rose, his eyes narrowing as he reassessed his human opponent. He charged forward, his bulk threatening to overwhelm Craig. At the last second, Craig sidestepped, using Drax's momentum against him. He grabbed the draconian's arm, executing a complex throw that sent Drax flying over his shoulder. The crowd gasped as Drax hit the ground hard. Craig didn't waste a moment. He leaped onto Drax's back, locking his arms around the draconian's thick neck in a chokehold. Drax thrashed wildly, trying to dislodge the human, but Craig held on with unwavering purpose. Seconds ticked by, feeling like an eternity. Craig's muscles screamed with exertion as he maintained his grip. Finally, Drax's struggles weakened. His clawed hand tapped the ground 3 times, the signal of surrender. The arena erupted in a cacophony of cheers and disbelieving shouts. Craig released his hold and staggered to his feet, his chest heaving. He extended a hand to Drax, who accepted it with a nod of respect. The head of the Galactic Council stood, her voice ringing out over the tumult. "Craig Lewis is victorious. As per the terms of the trial, Princess Quinn's royal status is restored, and their union is officially recognized." Quinn rushed into the arena, her scales shimmering with joy as she threw her arms around Craig. They embraced tightly, their love palpable to all who witnessed it. Emperor Zorn sat frozen on his throne, his face a mask of shock and disbelief. He opened his mouth to speak, but before he could utter a word, alarms blared throughout the arena. "Alert! Security breach!" a voice boomed over the speakers. "Purist attack in progress!" Chaos erupted as hidden Purist agents, disguised as security personnel, sprang into action. Energy bolts sizzled through the air as panicked spectators scrambled for cover. Craig and Quinn immediately began ushering civilians towards the exits. "This way!" Craig shouted, guiding a group of young Andorians to safety. Quinn used her strength to lift a fallen barrier, creating a path for a family of Tellarites to escape. General Kraz's voice cut through the din. "Draconian guards, form a perimeter, protect the civilians." He locked eyes with Admiral Chen across the arena, and a silent understanding passed between them. "Human forces, coordinate with the Draconians," Admiral Chen commanded. We need to work together to repel this attack. The impromptu alliance quickly proved effective. Human agility complemented draconian strength as they fought side by side against the purist insurgents. Amidst the chaos, Craig spotted a purist agent taking aim at Quinn. Without hesitation, he sprinted towards her. "Quinn, look out!" he yelled, throwing himself in front of her just as the agent fired. The energy blast caught Craig squarely in the chest. He crumpled to the ground, smoke rising from his torso. "Craig!" Quinn screamed, catching him as he fell. She cradled his head in her lap, her eyes wild with fear. "Someone help! We need a medic!" Emperor Zorn, who had been escorted to safety by his guards, witnessed Craig's selfless act. His expression softened, years of prejudice crumbling in an instant. "Bring the human to the medical bay immediately," he commanded, "and summon the best xenobiologist we have." As a team of human and draconian medics rushed Craig away on a hover stretcher, Quinn refused to leave his side. She clasped his hand tightly, her voice choked with emotion. "Stay with me, Craig, please." In the medical bay, doctors and scientists from both species worked feverishly to stabilize Craig's condition. They debated treatment options, combining their knowledge of human and draconian physiology to devise a plan. "His human cardiovascular system is failing," a draconian doctor reported. "But look at these readings," a human scientist interjected. "The energy blast has triggered an unexpected reaction in his cells. It's almost as if his body is trying to adapt," Quinn finished, her eyes widening with hope. Hours passed as the medical team worked tirelessly. Outside, the last of the purist attackers were subdued, their plot foiled by the unprecedented cooperation between humans and draconians. In an emergency session, the Galactic Council convened to address the day's events. The head of the council spoke gravely. "Today, we have witnessed both the depths of hatred and the heights of love. It is clear that we can no longer ignore the reality of interspecies relationships. I propose a resolution to recognize and protect such unions throughout the galaxy." The vote was nearly unanimous. As news of the resolution spread, beings across the cosmos celebrated this historic step towards unity. Back in the medical bay, Craig's vital signs finally stabilized. Quinn sat by his bedside, her scaled hand gently stroking his. She watched the rise and fall of his chest, marveling at the strength he had shown. Slowly, Craig's eyes fluttered open. He blinked, adjusting to the bright lights of the medical bay. As his vision cleared, he saw Quinn's face looking down at him, her reptilian features etched with concern and love. "Quinn," he whispered, his voice hoarse, "are you okay?" She let out a sound that was half laugh, half sob. "You're the one who took an energy blast, and you're asking if I'm okay?" Craig managed a weak smile. "Well, you know me. Always worried about others." Quinn leaned down, pressing her forehead against his. "I thought I'd lost you," she murmured. "Never," Craig replied, squeezing her hand. "We're in this together, remember?" As they gazed into each other's eyes, the realization dawned on them both. They had overcome tremendous odds, but their journey was far from finished. The galaxy was changing, and they would be at the forefront of that change. Outside the medical bay, humans and draconians mingled, sharing stories of the battle and forming new friendships. The aftermath of the purist attack had brought about an unexpected silver lining, a new era of cooperation and understanding. Craig struggled to sit up, wincing slightly. Quinn supported him, her strong arms gentle as she helped him. "Easy," she cautioned. "You need to rest." "I know," Craig said, his eyes fixed on the window where he could see the mixed group of humans and draconians. "But there's still so much to do, so many minds to change." Quinn nodded, her expression determined. "And we'll do it together, one step at a time." As they watched the scene outside, both Craig and Quinn knew that their love story had become something greater than themselves. They had become symbols of hope, their union a beacon for a more unified galaxy. But with that status came new challenges and responsibilities, ones they were only beginning to understand. Grasp. The road ahead would test their perseverance in ways they could scarcely imagine. As Craig's recovery progressed, the medical bay buzzed with activity. Doctors and scientists from both species continued to monitor his condition, fascinated by the unexpected cellular adaptations triggered by the energy blast. Quinn rarely left his side, her presence a constant comfort as he regained his strength. On the third day of his convalescence, they received an unexpected visitor. The head of the Galactic Council, flanked by a small entourage, entered the room. Her multifaceted eyes reflected the sterile light of the medical bay as she addressed them. "Craig Lewis, Princess Quinn," she began, her tone formal yet warm. "Your courage and devotion have not gone unnoticed. The Council has come to a decision. We believe your union represents a unique opportunity for the galaxy." Craig and Quinn exchanged glances, curiosity piqued. "We would like to offer you a position as diplomatic envoys," the Council head continued. "Your mission, should you accept, will be to travel to key worlds across the galaxy, promoting interspecies cooperation and understanding." Quinn's scales shimmered with excitement. "We'd be honored," she said, looking to Craig for confirmation. He nodded, a smile spreading across his face. "When do we start?" 2 weeks later, their ship docked at Nexus Prime, a bustling metropolis where a dozen species coexisted in a vibrant tapestry of cultures. As Craig and Quinn disembarked, they were met with a mixed reception. Some citizens cheered, waving flags bearing the symbols of both Earth and the Draconian Empire. Others stood stone-faced, their disapproval evident in their rigid postures. Their first engagement was a cultural exchange program at the Central Plaza. Craig demonstrated traditional Earth dances, his movements fluid and graceful despite his recent injury. Quinn followed with a display of Draconian martial arts, her powerful form moving with precision through ancient katas. As they performed side by side, the crowd's initial skepticism began to wane. Murmurs of appreciation rippled through the gathered beings. Yet at the edges of the plaza, a group of protesters held signs decrying their relationship as unnatural and dangerous. Later that evening, in the privacy of their quarters, Craig and Quinn found solace in each other's arms. Their kisses were fervent, hands exploring the familiar yet ever-exciting terrain of each other's bodies. Quinn's scales were warm beneath Craig's fingers, while her claws traced delicate patterns across his skin. "I love you," Craig whispered, his breath hot against her neck. Quinn responded with a low, rumbling purr that vibrated through her chest. Their bodies intertwined, a perfect fusion of human and draconian forms. The next morning, they visited a local school where they encountered an unexpected group, hybrid children, the offspring of various interspecies relationships. One young girl, with mottled skin and mismatched eyes, approached them shyly. "Are you really in love?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Quinn knelt down, bringing herself to eye level with the child. "Yes, we are," she said softly. "Love doesn't care about what species you are." The girl's face lit up with a smile that touched both Craig and Quinn deeply. They spent the rest of the day talking with the children, listening to their stories of isolation and bullying. By the time they left, a new fire burned in their hearts. They knew their mission had expanded beyond mere diplomacy. As word of their advocacy spread, they received a message from Dr. Lyra, a prominent xenogeneticist. She requested a meeting to discuss a groundbreaking study on human draconian genetic compatibility. In her lab, surrounded by holographic displays of DNA strands, Dr. Lyra explained her proposal. "Your relationship offers a unique opportunity to study the effects of prolonged intimate contact between your species," she said, her eyes gleaming with scientific excitement. Craig and Quinn listened intently, their hands clasped together. The potential benefits were clear, but the personal nature of the study gave them pause. "We'll need time to consider this," Craig said, his tone respectful but firm. As they left the lab, a commotion erupted in the street. A group of purist sympathizers had gathered, their angry shouts filling the air. Craig and Quinn found themselves suddenly surrounded, the crowd pressing in from all sides. An energy bolt sizzled past Craig's ear, missing him by inches. Quinn's protective instincts kicked in, her powerful tail sweeping 2 attackers off their feet. Craig ducked and weaved, his combat training serving him well as he disarmed another assailant. They fought their way through the mob, moving in perfect sync. Craig's agility complemented Quinn's strength, their teamwork a testament to their bond. As they reached the safety of a nearby security checkpoint, the sounds of sirens filled the air. Breathing heavily, they looked at each other. Despite the danger, there was a glint of exhilaration in their eyes. They had faced the threat together and emerged victorious. The failed assassination attempt only strengthened their grit. In the days that followed, they redoubled their efforts, speaking at public forums and meeting with community leaders. Slowly but surely, they began to win hearts and minds. One evening, as they prepared for bed, Quinn noticed something strange. Her scales seemed to shimmer with an iridescent quality she had never seen before. Craig ran his fingers along her arm, marveling at the new texture. "It's beautiful," he murmured. "But what could be causing it?" Quinn shook her head, equally puzzled. "I'm not sure, but I've been feeling different lately, more aware somehow." They decided to consult Dr. Lyra the next day. As they drifted off to sleep, wrapped in each other's arms, neither of them noticed the small, blinking device hidden in the corner of their room. The purist's failed attack had been just the beginning. Unseen eyes watched, waiting for the right moment to strike again. As Craig and Quinn drifted off to sleep, the hidden device in their room continued its silent vigil. Unbeknownst to them, their every move was being monitored by unseen forces with sinister intentions. The next morning, they boarded their diplomatic vessel, the Starbridge. As they settled into their quarters, Craig marveled at the ship's design, which seamlessly blended human and draconian elements. The ergonomic chairs adjusted to accommodate Quinn's tail, while the lighting could be dimmed to suit Craig's human eyes. "This ship is incredible," Craig said, running his hand along the smooth, iridescent wall panels. "It's like a perfect fusion of our worlds." Quinn nodded, her scales shimmering with that strange new quality. "It's a symbol of what we're trying to achieve. Unity through diversity." As they unpacked, neither noticed the shadow that briefly crossed the doorway, a figure moving with practiced stealth. Several days into their journey, Craig and Quinn were reviewing their itinerary when an urgent transmission came through. General Kraz's face appeared on the holographic display, his expression grim. "Princess Quinn, Mr. Lewis," he began, his voice tight with tension. "I bring troubling news from the homeworld. Lord Virak's conspiracy has gained significant traction. There are widespread protests against the royal family, and Emperor Zorn's position is becoming increasingly precarious." Quinn's tail lashed anxiously. "How bad is it, General?" "Bad enough that your father requests your immediate return. He believes your presence could help stabilize the situation." As the transmission ended, Craig and Quinn exchanged worried glances. The weight of their decision pressed heavily upon them. "If we change course now, it could undermine everything we've been working towards," Craig said, pacing the room. Quinn's claws clicked against the floor as she considered their options. "But if we ignore this, the consequences for my people, for the entire galaxy, could be catastrophic." After hours of deliberation, they made their choice. Quinn input the new coordinates, and the Starbridge changed course for the Draconian capital. As they entered Draconian space, Quinn's physical changes intensified. Her scales now emitted a soft, pulsating glow that captivated Craig's gaze. One evening, as they stood on the ship's observation deck, Quinn suddenly gasped. "Craig, I can, feel something. It's like I can sense the energy fields around us." Concerned, Craig contacted Dr. Lyra via subspace communication. The xenogeneticist's eyes widened as she listened to their description of Quinn's new abilities. "Fascinating," she murmured. "It appears that your proximity to Craig is accelerating the expression of dormant draconian genes. This could revolutionize our understanding of interspecies genetics." As they neared their destination, an alarm blared through the ship. Quinn's newfound senses tingled. "Something's wrong," she hissed. "I can feel a disturbance in the ship's power grid." They rushed to the engineering section, where they found a purist agent, Zex, attempting to sabotage the life support systems. Craig sprang into action, his combat training kicking in as he engaged the intruder. The two grappled fiercely, trading blows in the cramped space. Zex's alien strength gave him an advantage, but Craig's agility allowed him to evade the worst of the purist's attacks. Quinn, monitoring the fight through the ship's systems, had an idea. Using her royal override codes, she manipulated the artificial gravity in the engineering section. Suddenly, Zex found himself weightless, his powerful strikes now sending him spinning uncontrollably. Craig seized the opportunity, using the walls to propel himself towards the disoriented purist. With a well-placed strike, he knocked Zex unconscious. As they secured their prisoner, Craig and Quinn shared a moment of triumph. Their teamwork had once again proven the strength of their bond. The Starbridge entered draconian atmosphere, descending towards the capital. Below, they could see crowds gathering, some cheering, others holding protest signs. As they disembarked, the mixed reception was palpable. Lord Virac strode forward, his voice booming across the landing pad. "Princess Quinn, your return is most timely. Your association with this human and these unexplained changes to your physiology raise serious questions about your suitability to rule." Emperor Zorn stepped forward, his expression torn between joy at seeing his daughter and concern over the growing unrest. "A public hearing will be held to address these concerns, as our ancient laws demand." As preparations for the hearing began, Craig and Quinn knew they faced their greatest challenge yet, the fate of not just their relationship, but the future of human-draconian relations hung in the balance. With the galaxy watching, they steeled themselves for the trial ahead, knowing that every word, every action would be scrutinized by billions across the stars. Craig and Quinn stood before the ornate doors of the sacred chamber, their hands clasped tightly. The air thrummed with tension as they prepared to face the draconian purity test. "Are you sure about this?" Quinn asked, her scales pulsating with a soft glow. Craig nodded, his mind focused. "It's the only way to prove our compatibility and to silence the doubters." As the doors swung open, they were greeted by a cavernous room filled with ancient artifacts and swirling energies. Emperor Zorn and Lord Virac stood at opposite ends of the chamber, their expressions mirroring the divide in draconian society. Craig stepped forward, his heart pounding as he approached the center of the room. The test began without warning as tendrils of pulsating energy enveloped him. He gritted his teeth, fighting against the urge to cry out as the alien energies probed his body and mind. Quinn watched anxiously, her newly developed senses allowing her to perceive the flow of energy around Craig. She gasped as she noticed subtle changes in his physiology, his skin taking on a faint, scale-like sheen, his eyes glowing with an inner light. Dr. Lyra, who had been granted permission to observe, quickly set up her monitoring equipment. Her eyes widened as data streamed across her screens. "Fascinating," she muttered. "The human's DNA is responding to the test in ways I never anticipated." As Craig progressed through the trials, his body continued to change. His reflexes sharpened, allowing him to navigate physical challenges with inhuman grace. During mental trials, he found himself accessing knowledge he had never possessed before. Quinn, overwhelmed by the sight of Craig's transformation, felt a surge of energy building within her. Before she could control it, a burst of bioelectricity erupted from her body, arcing across the chamber and causing the lights to flicker. The assembled draconian nobles murmured in a mixture of awe and fear. Lord Virac's eyes narrowed, seeing his carefully laid plans crumbling before him. As Craig approached the final stage of the test, Virac made his move. He slipped away from the crowd and accessed a hidden control panel, intent on sabotaging the ritual. General Kraz, who had been watching Virac closely, sprang into action. He tackled the conspirator just as Virac's clawed hand reached for the controls. The two draconians grappled fiercely, their powerful bodies slamming against the ancient walls of the chamber. "Traitor!" Kraz roared, pinning Virac to the ground. "Your schemes end here." As guards rushed to apprehend Virac, Craig reached the pinnacle of the test. His body began to emit a brilliant, pulsating light that resonated with Quinn's bioelectric field. The ancient artifacts in the chamber hummed to life, responding to the unprecedented energy. Holographic displays flickered into existence around the room, projecting images of a long-forgotten past. The assembled Draconians gasped as they saw scenes of early humans and Draconians working together, even intimate moments between the two species. Dr. Lyra's voice cut through the stunned silence. "It's true. The genetic markers I've been studying, they're proof of our shared ancestry. Emperor Zorn stepped forward, his eyes filled with a mixture of wonder and determination. He raised his hands, calling for silence. "What we have witnessed here today changes everything," he declared. "Craig Lewis has not only passed our most sacred test, but has unlocked secrets of our past long thought lost." He turned to face Craig and Quinn. "In light of this, I hereby recognize Craig Lewis as a member of the Draconian royal family with the title of Prince Consort." A cheer erupted from the progressive faction of the crowd, while the conservatives muttered in disbelief. Quinn rushed to Craig's side, embracing him as the glow faded from his body. "Are you okay?" she asked, her voice thick with emotion. Craig nodded, still dazed from the experience. "I feel different, like I understand things I never did before." As the implications of what had transpired began to sink in, Admiral Sarah Chen approached Emperor Zorn. "Your Majesty, in light of these revelations, I propose a joint human-draconian mission to explore our shared history further." Zorn nodded, a smile breaking across his reptilian features. "An excellent suggestion, Admiral. Let this be the first of many collaborations between our people." As the chamber buzzed with excitement and plans for the future, Craig and Quinn slipped away, seeking a moment of privacy. They found themselves in a quiet alcove overlooking the sprawling Draconian capital. "I can hardly believe it," Craig said, examining his slightly altered hands. "Everything we've been through, everything we've fought for, it's all led to this." Quinn leaned into him, her scales shimmering with contentment. "And it's only the beginning. We have so much more to discover, about ourselves, about each other, about our people's shared past." As they stood there contemplating the future that lay before them, neither Craig nor Quinn could shake the feeling that their greatest adventures and challenges were yet to come. As they gazed out at the Draconian capital, neither could have anticipated the whirlwind of events that would soon sweep them across the galaxy. In the days following the revelation of their shared ancestry, Craig and Quinn found themselves thrust into the spotlight of galactic politics. The Galactic Council, recognizing the unprecedented nature of their union, appointed the couple as official ambassadors for a new initiative aimed at fostering interspecies cooperation. Their first assignment brought them to Earth, a journey that filled Craig with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. As the Starbridge entered Earth's atmosphere, he felt a surge of emotions at the sight of his home planet. "It's strange," he murmured to Quinn as they approached the landing pad at the Intergalactic Academy. "I've been gone for so long, but it still feels like yesterday." Quinn squeezed his hand, her scales emitting a soft, comforting glow. "We're in this together," she reassured him. As the ship's doors opened, they were greeted by a cacophony of sounds and a sea of faces. Supporters cheered and waved signs welcoming the interspecies couple, while protesters shouted slogans about preserving human purity. The contrast was jarring, and Craig felt a moment of vertigo as he stepped onto his native soil. Dr. Emily Lewis, Craig's mother and newly appointed head of the xenobiology department, pushed through the crowd to embrace her son. "Welcome home," she said, her voice thick with emotion. She turned to Quinn, hesitating for only a moment before pulling her into a hug as well. "And welcome to the family, Quinn." The couple was whisked away to a press conference where they addressed the gathered media. Craig found himself stumbling over his words, unused to the intense scrutiny of Earth's journalists. Quinn, drawing on her royal training, smoothly took over, outlining their plans for the interspecies cultural exchange program. "Our goal," she explained, her voice clear and confident, "is to create a curriculum that combines the best of human and draconian teaching methods. We believe that by learning from each other, we can forge a stronger, more unified galactic community." As the days passed, Craig and Quinn threw themselves into their work at the Academy. They collaborated with Dr. Emily Lewis to develop courses that would challenge students' preconceptions about alien species. Craig found himself marveling at the changes in his mother, who had embraced her new role with enthusiasm. "I never thought I'd see the day when I'd be teaching draconian biology," she confessed during a late-night planning session. "But after everything that's happened, how could I not be fascinated?" Their work was not without challenges. During a demonstration of draconian energy manipulation techniques, Quinn accidentally triggered a power surge that plunged the entire academy into darkness. As emergency lights flickered on, Craig could see the panic in her eyes. "It's okay," he assured her, guiding her through a series of breathing exercises he had learned during his time on the draconian homeworld. "We'll work on control together." In the following weeks, they developed a routine. Mornings were spent in meetings with Earth's government officials, negotiating the terms of increased human participation in galactic affairs. Afternoons were dedicated to teaching and working with students. In the evenings, Craig helped Quinn practice controlling her bioelectric abilities, while she assisted him in exploring the changes to his own physiology. One evening, as they stood in the Academy's practice hall, Craig closed his eyes and focused on the tingling sensation that had become a constant presence since the purity test. He felt a surge of energy coursing through his body, and when he opened his eyes, he saw Quinn staring at him in amazement. "Craig," she breathed, "you're glowing." He looked down at his hands, seeing the faint iridescent sheen that now covered his skin. Concentrating, he managed to intensify the glow, casting soft light across the room. Their moment of triumph was interrupted by an urgent message from the Academy's security team. A group calling themselves the Human Purity Front was planning to disrupt their upcoming public address. On the day of the event, Craig and Quinn took the stage, acutely aware of the tension in the air. As they began to speak, a group of protesters burst through the security cordon, shouting anti-alien slogans. Without hesitation, Craig and Quinn sprang into action. Quinn unleashed a carefully controlled burst of bioelectricity, shorting out the protesters' communication devices. Meanwhile, Craig used his newly enhanced reflexes to disarm and subdue the leaders of the group. The incident was over in minutes, with no casualties. As the security team led the protesters away, Craig and Quinn exchanged a look of relief and pride. Their seamless teamwork had not only neutralized the threat, but had also provided a powerful demonstration of the potential of human-alien cooperation. In the aftermath of the event, they found themselves inundated with messages of support from across the galaxy. Among them was a group of human-alien couples seeking legal recognition of their unions. Craig and Quinn, moved by their stories, agreed to advocate on their behalf. As they prepared to leave Earth for their next assignment, Craig and Quinn stood once more on the observation deck of the Starbridge. The view of Earth, blue and beautiful below them, filled them with a bittersweet mix of accomplishment and anticipation. "Ready for our next adventure?" Quinn asked, her tail curling around Craig's waist. Before he could answer, a priority message flashed on the ship's communication panel. A crisis was developing in a distant sector of the galaxy, one that would require all of their diplomatic skills and newfound abilities to navigate. Craig took a deep breath, feeling the familiar surge of energy coursing through his body. He looked at Quinn, seeing the same persistence reflected in her eyes. Without a word, they turned together towards the bridge, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Ahead. Craig nodded, his expression resolute. Together, they made their way to the bridge, ready to confront whatever crisis awaited them. As the Starbridge's engines hummed to life, a holographic display materialized before them, revealing the stern face of Counselor Vex, a senior member of the Galactic Council. "Ambassador Lewis, Lady Quinn," Vex began, his voice tight with urgency. "We have a critical situation developing in the Orion sector. A human mining colony and a draconian outpost are on the brink of armed conflict over newly discovered rare mineral deposits. We need you to mediate this dispute immediately." Quinn's tail twitched with concern. "What's the nature of the conflict, Counselor?" "The human colony, led by Director Harlow, has expanded its operations into territory claimed by the Draconian outpost. Commander Zix of the Draconian forces is threatening military action if the humans don't withdraw." Craig exchanged a glance with Quinn. "We're on our way, Counselor. Send us all available data on the situation." As the Starbridge streaked through hyperspace, Craig and Quinn pored over the information provided by the Council. The tension in the Orion sector had been building for months, with both sides becoming increasingly aggressive in their claims to the mineral-rich asteroids. Upon their arrival, the gravity of the situation became immediately apparent. The human mining colony, a sprawling complex of prefab structures and heavy machinery, buzzed with nervous energy. Armed guards patrolled the perimeter, their weapons at the ready. Across the expanse of space, the Draconian outpost loomed, its architecture a blend of organic forms and advanced technology. Sleek fighter craft circled the station, a clear show of force. Craig and Quinn wasted no time in setting up a neutral meeting ground on an uninhabited moon between the two bases. As they prepared the makeshift conference room, Quinn's scales rippled with anxiety. "Craig," she said softly, "I've never seen our people so close to open conflict before. What if we can't stop this?" He placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We have to try. Our unique perspective might be the key to finding common ground." The negotiations began with separate meetings. Director Harlow, a hard-nosed woman with a shock of white hair, stated her case firmly. "These asteroids are critical for Earth's growing energy needs," she argued. "We can't afford to back down." Commander Zix, his reptilian features set in a scowl, was equally unyielding. "The Draconian Empire has claimed this sector for generations. We will not be bullied by human expansionism." Despite their best efforts, Craig and Quinn found themselves unable to bridge the divide. The talks stalled, with neither side willing to compromise on their claims. During a particularly tense joint meeting, Quinn felt a familiar surge of energy building within her. Before she could control it, her bioelectric abilities flared, causing a temporary blackout in the negotiation chamber. As darkness enveloped them, Craig's newly developed electromagnetic sensitivity kicked in. He gasped as he detected unusual energy signatures emanating from the disputed asteroid field. "Quinn," he whispered urgently, "are you sensing this?" She nodded, her scales glowing faintly in the darkness. "It's like nothing I've ever felt before." As the lights flickered back to life, Craig addressed the startled delegates. "I believe we've made a significant discovery. These mineral deposits might be more than they appear." Further investigation revealed an astonishing truth. The mineral deposits were part of a dormant alien terraforming system, left behind by an ancient spacefaring race. The activation of this system could potentially transform the entire sector into a habitable zone, benefiting both species far more than the minerals alone. This revelation shifted the focus of the talks dramatically. Craig and Quinn proposed a joint human-draconian project to study and activate the terraforming system, with equal sharing of resources and territory. "Imagine," Quinn said, her voice filled with excitement, "a new world that we create together, a symbol of what our species can achieve when we cooperate." The proposal gained traction among the more moderate members of both colonies. However, extremist factions resisted the idea of cooperation. As Craig and Quinn worked tirelessly to build consensus, they were unaware of the plots brewing on both sides. A group of human miners, led by Harlow's ambitious second-in-command, attempted to sabotage the Draconian outpost's life support systems. Simultaneously, a Draconian splinter group launched an attack on the human colony's power grid. The alarms blared, cutting through the tense atmosphere of the negotiations. Craig and Quinn sprang into action, their training and unique abilities allowing them to respond swiftly. Quinn unleashed controlled bursts of bioelectricity, disrupting the saboteurs' equipment and neutralizing the threat to the Draconian outpost. Meanwhile, Craig's enhanced reflexes and newfound strength allowed him to quickly disable the attacking Draconians without causing casualties. Their heroic actions, broadcast across both colonies, swayed public opinion in favor of cooperation. In the aftermath of the failed attacks, Director Harlow and Commander Zix were forced to acknowledge the benefits of working together. As they signed a preliminary agreement to form a joint research team and share the resources of the sector equally, Craig and Quinn felt a sense of accomplishment wash over them. They had not only prevented a war, but had also laid the groundwork for a new era of human-draconian cooperation. Their success in the Orion sector did not go unnoticed. As they prepared to depart, a priority message from the Galactic Council appeared on their ship's communication panel. The Council, impressed by their handling of the crisis, proposed establishing a permanent interspecies diplomatic corps, with Craig and Quinn as its founding members. Before they could fully process this new opportunity, another message flashed across the screen. Dr. Lyra's face appeared, her expression a mix of excitement and trepidation. "Craig, Quinn," she began, her voice trembling slightly, "I've completed the latest genetic analysis. The results are extraordinary. You two are capable of producing viable offspring." The news hit them like a shockwave, adding a deeply personal dimension to their mission. As they stood on the bridge of their ship, the vastness of space stretching out before them, Craig and Quinn realized that their journey had only just begun. Their moment of reflection was cut short by an urgent alert. A massive purist fleet comprised of ships from multiple species had been detected on the outskirts of the galaxy. This extremist armada, opposed to interspecies cooperation, was on a direct course for the core worlds. Craig and Quinn exchanged a determined look. They had faced challenges before, but this threat to galactic unity would require all of their skills, courage, and the newfound cooperation they had fostered. As the Starbridge's engines roared to life, setting a course back to the Galactic Council, Craig and Quinn knew that the true test of their abilities and of the fragile alliance they had helped forge lay ahead. Ahead, the urgency in their steps matched the gravity of the situation unfolding across the galaxy. As they entered the bridge, the ship's communication system erupted with a cacophony of distress signals and urgent reports. The Purist Armada had launched its assault, striking key outposts and colonies with ruthless efficiency. Craig and Quinn exchanged a grim look, realizing the true scale of the threat they faced. "Set course for the Galactic Council headquarters. Maximum speed," Craig ordered, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. Quinn's tail lashed with nervous energy as she coordinated the incoming data streams. "We're receiving reports of attacks in the Centauri system, the Pleiades cluster, and, by the stars, they've hit New Terra." The Starbridge surged through hyperspace, its engines straining as they pushed the ship to its limits. Craig and Quinn worked in seamless tandem, analyzing the flood of information and formulating a plan. As they dropped out of hyperspace near the Council headquarters, the sight that greeted them was one of awe-inspiring panic. Ships from various species darted about in disarray, their crews seeking guidance in the face of the purest threat. The council chambers were a scene of chaos when Craig and Quinn arrived. Representatives from dozens of species argued vehemently, their voices rising in a cacophony of fear and anger. Councillor Vex struggled to maintain order, his usual composure cracking under the strain. Craig strode to the center of the chamber, his presence commanding attention. Quinn flanked him, her scales shimmering with suppressed bioelectric energy. As the room fell silent, Craig's voice rang out, clear and resolute. "Esteemed members of the Council, we stand at a crossroads. The purest threat is not aimed at any one species, but at the very idea of galactic cooperation. We must set aside our differences and unite, or we will fall divided." Quinn stepped forward, her tail curling around Craig's ankle in a gesture of unity. "We propose the formation of a united galactic fleet, combining the strengths of all our species. Only together can we hope to match the purest forces." Murmurs of doubt rippled through the chamber. A Volcran representative, his crystalline form glittering, spoke up. "And who would lead this fleet? We cannot trust our forces to any single species." Craig nodded, acknowledging the concern. "We suggest a joint command structure, with representatives from each major power. Our diversity will be our strength." As if on cue, the chamber's holographic display flared to life, showing new reports of purist attacks. The images of burning outposts and fleeing civilians silenced the remaining doubters. Emperor Zorn's holographic form materialized, his reptilian features set in a grim expression. "The Draconian Empire pledges its full naval might to this united fleet. We will not stand idle while the galaxy burns." Admiral Sarah Chen of Earth Space Force appeared next to him. "Earth stands with you. Our most advanced ships are at your disposal." One by one, representatives from other species stepped forward, pledging their support. The chamber buzzed with a new energy as the alliance began to take shape. As Craig and Quinn coordinated the logistics of assembling the fleet, Dr. Lyra approached them, her expression a mix of excitement and concern. She pulled them aside, speaking in a low voice. "I've just received the results of Quinn's latest medical scan," she said, her eyes darting between them. "Quinn, you're pregnant. You're carrying the first known human draconian hybrid child." The news hit them like a gravitational wave. Quinn's hand instinctively went to her abdomen, while Craig steadied himself against a nearby console. Their eyes met, a whirlwind of emotions passing between them. "We'll need to be extra cautious," Craig said softly, his protective instincts kicking in. Quinn's tail tightened around his wrist. "This changes nothing. We have a galaxy to save for our child's future." With renewed commitment, they threw themselves into the preparations. The United Galactic Fleet began to assemble near the Orion sector, a staggering array of ships from dozens of species converging in an unprecedented show of cooperation. Craig and Quinn found themselves aboard the flagship Unity, a massive vessel that combined technologies from multiple species. As they approached the coordinates where the Purist Armada had last been detected, tension mounted on the bridge. Quinn's bioelectric abilities surged, interfacing with the ship's systems and enhancing its communication capabilities. Craig stood at the tactical display, his heightened senses allowing him to process the vast array of data streaming in from the fleet's sensors. "Purist forces detected," a Neptunian sensor operator announced, her watery form rippling with anticipation. "They're moving to engage." Craig's voice rang out across the fleet-wide channel. "All ships assume battle formation. Remember, we fight not just for our individual worlds, but for a united galaxy." The space before them erupted in a dazzling display of weapons fire as the two massive fleets clashed. Craig and Quinn coordinated the Allied forces with precision, their unique abilities and shared experiences proving invaluable in the chaos of battle. A squadron of sleek Arcturian fighters found themselves surrounded by Purist cruisers. Without hesitation, Quinn directed a mixed group of human and Draconian ships to their aid. "Talon Squadron, execute maneuver Epsilon 3. Terran Raptors, provide cover fire." The Allied ships moved as one, executing a complex series of maneuvers that caught the Purist forces off guard. Cheers erupted across the comm channels as the trapped Arcturians broke free, rejoining the main battle group. As the tide of battle began to turn in their favor, a massive Purist flagship broke through the Allied lines, heading straight for the Unity. The ship's comm system crackled to life, and a cold, severe voice filled the bridge. "I am Grand Purifier Czar," the voice announced. "Craig Lewis, Quinn of House Zorn, I challenge you to single combat. Face me, or watch as I tear your pitiful alliance apart." Craig and Quinn exchanged a look, years of shared experiences and unspoken communication passing between them in an instant. They knew the risks, but also recognized the opportunity to end this conflict decisively. "We accept your challenge, Czar," Craig responded, his voice steady. "Prepare to be boarded." As they made their way to the shuttle bay, Quinn's tail entwined with Craig's hand. "Whatever happens," she said softly, "we face it together." Craig nodded, his other hand resting briefly on Quinn's abdomen. "For our future," he whispered. The shuttle launched, carrying them toward Czar's flagship in the confrontation that would decide the fate of the galactic realm. As they approached the looming vessel, Craig and Quinn steeled themselves for the battle ahead, their determination unshakable in the face of the greatest challenge they had ever faced.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.